There's a box right across the door over here. In the front of the
recycling
trailer, you could put them in.
That's where they go.
I think I have some. Greg. Yeah, in my house. Hey, Greg.
No, I'm good.
No, I'm good.
Jerry.
How are you?
Water?
I'm good.
Good. Tom, you good?
Till we get over it. Oh.
All right.
Sure.
Not going with it? Come on.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's 4:30. I'd like to ask you to stand to join me, and we'll start with a moment of silence, and we'll follow that with a pledge of allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we'd like to start with the roll call, please.
Pete Hamill.
Here.
Ken Snyder.
Here.
Brad Hent. Here. Chantel Ostro. Here. Tom Eggers.
Here. Here.
All right, next item up is the approval of the agenda. Roll call, please.
Ken. Ostro. Eggers.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Moving on to the public forum portion of our meeting. Is there anyone in the gallery that would like to address the council at this time? If so, please step forward and state your name. Not seeing any written comments.
Correct.
Okay, seeing no movement or no written comments, let's move on then to approval of the consent agenda.
Move to accept the consent agenda.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Ostro. Aye. Eggers.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Hent.
All right, then we move into our old business. First item up there is banking services, and we'll open with discussion. Something you would like to say at this point, Sam?
I think my reports, the report that our team did speaks for itself, and we have several of them here today.
Okay. Any comments from the council members? All right, then I'd like to open it up for public comment. Either of you would like to address council at this time? If you would, state your name when you're at the podium, please.
Dan Van Gorp from Security National Bank. Would like to make just a few comments about this process. The city manager's recommendation is based on IPATE's opinion, which included 3 points. The first point stated that the people's proposal offers higher potential in what they believe is a sinking market. To recommend the council make a change to the 50-year banking relationship based on a belief of higher potential doesn't seem valid. The projections or estimates about future rates from any organization, probably including the Federal Reserve, are not binding, and the calculations required to support the opinion from IPATE were not included in the memo as a supporting document. So rather than project future rates, Security National Bank calculated the history of the two rates, T-bill versus Fed funds. Reviewing the last 5 years, the average difference in value between the 91-day T-bill and the Fed funds as posted on the first business day of the month, which is normally the first of the month unless it's a holiday or a weekend, would include 60 entries between August 1 of 2019 and July 1 of 2024. The difference was 8 basis points. The index used by Peoples was 45 basis points under, and Security National used 50 basis points under. That difference of those two indexes is 5 points. Subtracting 5 points from the 8-point difference in the Fed funds and the T-bill provides a 3-point advantage to Security National Bank. More recently, comparing calendar 23 and year-to-date 24, that's 19 entries based again on the first business day of the month. The 91-day T-bill averaged 12 points higher than the Fed funds effective rate. Adjusting 5 points for the difference in the bank index, Security National Bank has a 7-point win. Therefore, based on history, Security National Bank has provided the best bid. And we're not forecasting the future. We think that's next to impossible to do. The second point was that the people's proposal is more stable for budgeting purposes. The statement offers no supporting documentation regarding stability. There may be confusion about the 91-day T-bill. It actually does trade every day, but the application of a rate change for the city would be effective only on the first business day of the month. And the proposal from People's Bank also applies a city rate adjustment on the first business day of the month. Thus, both banks will review and can adjust the city rate 12 times per year. Although Fed funds rate is normally modified after the Federal Reserve meets, it can also be adjusted at any time due to an emergency action. And responding to emergencies, they've done that 7 times. Moreover, during COVID, there were 2 huge rate cuts at unscheduled emergency meetings during March of 2020. Then, coming out of COVID in the first quarter of 22, Fed funds were still remaining near zero, but over the next 16 months, they increased the rate more than 5 percentage points, or 500 basis points. So during the last 5 years, which was the previous RFP, Fed funds ranged from 0.05 to 5.33. This does not reflect stability. There is some speculation about the Federal Reserve changing the rates this fall, as early as their next meeting in September 17 and 18. No one knows for sure, and I don't see how that uncertainty provides more stability for budgeting. History shows the 2 rates are similar, they move in similar directions, and at similar times. If stability is valued, it is important to remember the only stable rate on revenue for budget purposes is a fixed rate. Security National Bank bid 5.10% for the first 12 months, which was in fact the highest rate proposed. And that rate was implemented for the city last Thursday on August 1. The city could now consider a partial acceptance of the RFP and just approve a 12-month agreement, deferring any long-term decisions on year 2 through 5. The third point was Peoples doesn't have a minimum balance requirement, and the city was unsure what happens if Security National Bank, if their balances were below $5 million. We had no additional details in our proposal related to balances under $5 million, because the balance in the city account over the last 5 years exceeded $7 million, and there is currently another $3.5 million invested at Des Moines. With current balances over $10 million, Security National Bank did not expect the balances to be reduced below $5 million. If in fact a surprising event would cause the city balance to fall below $5 million for a brief time, Security National Bank will waive any penalty or fee. I believe the City Council was wise to table the first recommendation and clarify the proposals at their June council meeting. All 4 banks submitted excellent and comparable bids for the city deposits. When negotiating solely with local organizations, like 4 local banks, it is unwise for the City Council to take formal action that results in conflict or animosity between those businesses and the citizens in the local community. A process like an RFP for banking services is expected to determine if there is any clear separation between similar products from the providers. This process actually showed very small differences between the local banks. These 4 banks share common interests. They all support city events with their labor and donations. We all sit on the same bleachers and pews, and the 4 banks pay local real estate taxes that support the city. The formal RFP for deposits should never create winners and losers with the major local banks and businesses in a small town. I suggest that we get more accomplished when we work together. So a better option would be to allow all local parties to win while no one loses. After providing a high-quality banking services to the City of Sheldon for over 50 years, and after submitting a respectable proposal that remains equal or better than the competition, Security National Bank considers the recommendation to move the funds to Peoples Bank to be an unfair outcome. To move funds from Security National that are currently earning 5.10% into Peoples Bank at 5.06% is not a defendable decision. The city should consider awarding a 12-month agreement, deferring any long-term decisions on years 2 through 5. And the city could divide the current deposits, including the funds that I paid, with the banking institutions that are local. The local school already demonstrated a workable plan for investing local deposits. Their recent $10 million bond was split equitably between all 4 banks. So I think that plan would be workable. It would probably take some time to develop. That's why I think it would make sense to move ahead with a 12-month agreement. That concludes my remark.
Thank you, Dan. Are there any questions for Dan at this time? Okay. Are there any others seeking to make public comment at this time?
Terry Broxma, 3359 Monroe Avenue and 1630 Pleasant Court Drive. I want to remind the council about the past history with Security National. I've been involved in this process for over 5 years now. And the first time the city earned any money on deposits was 5 years ago. And at that time, Security National had a 2 1/4 bid, similar bids, 1/4% difference. And the city council took the 2 1/4, which was less than the competition because of the past history, just like Dan's talking about. However, 2 years later when COVID hit, guess who came to the city manager and wanted to renege on the contract? They sent Security National's guy up from Sioux City, Heller, and he wanted to drop the rate from 2 1/4 to 0.5%. The only reason they didn't is because we said we'd take it public. all the time he's had since COVID relief hit, and he mentioned they raised the rate 5 times. Did they come to you and offer more money? No, not until the end. So all the bids were good. That's fine. But to me, as a member of the committee, when I looked at past business dealings, they need to earn it back, rather than come in after the fact and offer something else and tell you they're not going to enforce their minimum deposit requirements. I'd have a problem believing that based on the course of business. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Last chance, anyone else wants to comment? All right. We've heard from Dan. You have the information from Sam, the recommendation from IPATE, and so on. Where do we go from here?
I like the idea of splitting it up amongst the banks. Give everybody a shot at the money.
How would that look to you, Brad?
Fight it equally.
No, how would it look to you as far as which proposal do they honor?
They have to honor one of the proposals because everybody's different.
So you're saying divide it per everyone's proposal, individual proposal?
Or come up with a T-bill, whatever that is, and go with that. Come up with one, if they want to take it, then we give them the money. Because they all sponsor events in the town, they all pay property taxes, they all have employees that live in town.
Anyone else want to weigh in?
I guess the only other thing I would wonder about is how complicated that would be from the standpoint of administering it and working with it from the city office. I mean, I can't imagine that we would have 4 checking accounts.
You don't have to have 4 checking accounts, have money and transfer it from one to the other when you need money in the other account for a checking account. You're sending money to iPay down in Des Moines, so it can't be much different than that. You're just doing it down the street.
Are you talking specifically investments?
You could do the investment money. You could do whatever the $7 million in average balance has been.
One thing I recall when we first talked about going with the RFP, and we invited all the institutions to come and speak to that process. I believe it was pretty much the general consensus of all the institutions that when they were making their proposals, it was based upon all the money. And I think the monies that are in Des Moines was mentioned as being them wanting to have that put into the pot as well. So it's at least my recall that all the institutions were like-minded about whoever won the RFP, they would get the pot of money that the city had. Does anyone recall that any differently?
I think that's fair a fair statement. I think that was expected. I don't know if that was ever specifically spelled out, but the IPATE money was a question mark, but the other was all the funds that are local and stay local.
But then we wanted to keep it simple too, and now it's gotten complex of all the bids are different. So we're not doing apples to apples.
Would all 4 banks be, willing to do that, though? don't you think you need to ask that question?
I think if I was a bank, I'd like to have a couple million put in my bank, than nothing.
Are you, if you would go with all four banks, would you go with each one's individual proposal, or would we rework
That's why you need to
the whole
have
thing?
it, the same proposal that everybody's bid in, instead of all four different ones. That's why I said when we started this process, we need to keep it simple, so everybody's doing the same proposal, not four different proposals.
I guess what my struggle is all of us received this document ahead of time, all the banks received the document ahead of time, everybody was under the same understanding, and now we're kind of going back on what everybody received.
But then again, when we bid a street project, it's apples for apples.
But my understanding going into it was not necessarily going to be apples to apples. That was brought up, that it's not necessarily the same as a street project.
Right. There was room for each bank to come up with what their best plan for getting the best rate possible.
So are we sitting here thinking to ourselves that we've been unfair to the other institutions for the past 5 years? Because we awarded the first RFP to a single institution? Is that what we're saying?
Well, I think you could go back even further than 5 years. We're talking, if we've been at 50 years or whatever it's been
Right.
with security.
Not necessarily. Prior to the 5-year agreement, we would invest in CDs and just take rates from the banks and go with the highest rate. I mean, right now, our money is sitting in 4 banks. IPATE, Iowa State, People's, and Security. Citizens is the only one that we don't have money at.
If we go with what Brad said, does that mean we have to start from scratch again then? I mean, we're just changing the whole works, or?
That's what I'm wondering about.
I mean, if we don't, you're assuming that all four institutions would be willing to be as aggressive as they are with only 25% of the business as opposed to all of it, and that's a big assumption.
Mhm.
I guess, and at that point, if they're not willing to do it, then that's a decision they make, and if they don't want to do it, then they know what they're missing. Give them the opportunity.
Were they to, I mean, so to Pete's point, is it worth $50,000, $100,000 less if the rates are lowered based on estimates that it's going to be significantly less, 25% less, like you're saying? I don't know that we would get the same kind of numbers we are currently looking at.
And I'm also,
And so based on, the idea of fairness, if we, instead of $500,000, now we're looking at, I'm just going to throw out a number, $400,000. Is it worth $100,000 to be fair? And make everybody a winner, or less of a loser?
But you're assuming the rates would be less that way. We need to
I'm
find
just
that out.
speculating. I don't know if they would be or not. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
If I were in
right.
their seat, I would not give that kind of numbers for 25% less, for 25% of what I was originally working with.
I'm not sure I'd use the word fair, because each one of these banks is an individual business of their own.
Right.
And by going with an RFP, everyone had a fair opportunity to bid it for whatever their business decided they wanted to do. I think that's fair. I think we looked at the proposal, we approved the proposal to go forward. The proposal is, they responded to it. We asked the committee to get together, not once, but twice. We got a third party to weigh in on this, and their decision is what they presented back to us in regards to People's Bank. I think, to be fair, we award People's Bank based upon all the other fairness I just listed. And if we feel we need to change the process of proposal for the next round, I think those discussions we're having now are wide open and appropriate at that time. But I don't think that we back up now. I think we go ahead with the proposal as it is and vote it up or down. So with that, I make motion that we accept the proposal of People's Bank, and per the agreement that we asked them for the term that we asked for, 5 years, and move forward.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a support for that motion?
I would support that.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye, or excuse me, roll call, please.
Ostra.
Aye.
Hint.
No.
Snyder.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Just in 5 years, we made, make a simple
Yeah.
process
I
of
think
one
that-
way to
And
do
that's
this proposal, so everybody's fair.
I agree.
I agree with
I
you.
think that's fair to do it in 5 years, Brad, but I think what we've asked for, I don't think we can go back at this point.
All right, moving on. The resolution will come, do we need a resolution to approve that, or does that come later?
Resolution of the deposit fund.
Mhm.
The resolution of the deposit fund.
Yeah.
So did that motion take care of it, or do we need that motion?
I think we still need a new one.
Okay.
Motion.
All right. So that point, sub-point 3 under 5A, the resolution designating deposit of funds, we need a motion to approve that then, based on our previous decision. So I will take some, motion for that, please.
So move.
Support.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Hamel.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Hint.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
All right. Moving on to item 6A, a resolution approving the agreement with Kaler Consulting to assist with the police chief vacancy. Anything you'd like to say at this time, Sam?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. At the last meeting, the council voted by motion to proceed with Jeff Kaler's a la carte hourly rate option plus the assessment center services if those became necessary. He asked for a formal agreement, which he said his insurance requires, and by our ordinance, it's best to have such agreements approved by the council. So this is back in front of you for approval. Mayor and I discussed with Jeff, we currently don't believe we need the assessment center, but we might. But anyway, here's the agreement is in front of you to be approved by resolution.
So do we really know what we're agreeing to, other than the fact that are we agreeing that we understand all of the options, or are we agreeing to do all the options?
Well, yeah, it's a good question, if I might.
Yeah.
So at the last meeting, we discussed an à la carte option, and really this puts the à la carte, Tom, in writing. So we're going to use Jeff as needed, and we're going to try to do as much in-house as possible.
So how will the council know or give guidance as far as à la carte?
Well, we'll be in communication with you. Let's say we receive 25 fantastic applications, and we would need to probably have a closed session and discuss the
Okay. But
qualifications.
let me use an example that's in my mind right now. Sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
the assessment. How are we going to make a decision on the assessment if we approve it as being an à la carte? Who's going to make the decision on the assessment?
Well, if I might, I can take a crack at it.
Yep.
So my thought, and that's a great question, my thought would be, because this is a mayoral appointment to be confirmed by the city council, that the mayor would take the lead on such a recommendation, and that we would consult with all of you as needed. Because clearly it's very important to have all of your support for whoever the appointment is.
In answer to your scenario, based on the conversation we have with Jeff, I'm not convinced that we need to do the assessment training or center yet. That was $5,000, upwards of $5,000 for them to do that. If we had two very good candidates out of those 25 that we could not decide which one would be the best, that would maybe be a time where I would think we would want to consider the assessment. It's an extensive process where they sit down with the candidates. They provide a number of scenarios and questions asking how they would respond, and it gives them, because he gets two other officers, retired officers, whatever, people that have been in the police force, that ask questions about how you would respond in this situation. What would you do with, it covers a wide variety of things, everything from budgeting to personnel issues to, and so they're, at that point, then you've got people that have been in the business that are asking questions, and again, then they would give a recommendation based on that assessment who they think the most qualified candidate might be.
Okay.
But at this point, I'm not convinced that we need that.
I appreciate some clarity on that a little bit. It's one of the larger ticket items, and personally, I guess, I'll be honest, I don't really understand how the assessment would really fit in anyway. Brad may understand that better, or Pete, or maybe someone else, but I appreciate that explanation. So, with this resolution then, is everything that's in his à la carte list would be an option for you guys to exercise through the process. Fair?
Do we have a breakdown list of the à la carte cost on our, I don't see anything on our packet here of what all the fees you're talking about costs are. As I see here is base fee of $3,500 and then $450 per diem.
And that is for that assessment process.
Okay.
So in terms of à la carte, really, we're agreeing to pay him $150 per hour for services rendered,
Okay.
not including that assessment center process. And that's, everything from placing ads to coming up with potential candidates, all the stuff he did before, a lot of the stuff he did before, I should say, that goes along with this search process. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've never been through this, I haven't been here for that. What I'm thinking is, the candidate gets picked, and then we as a council say yea or nay without actually interviewing the applicant. We have no contact with them
Not
before?
even, no, we're going to interview the candidate.
Right.
Okay, he'll be in front of us or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Jeff is basically, I think of him as a headhunter. role. He's out there looking for candidates. He's beating the bushes, and, you know, he'll make phone calls and place ads in numerous publications. He had a list of publications,
Yeah, correct.
both free and ones we pay for.
Okay.
But he's out there looking for people who might fit into the role we have open at this point,
And he makes recommendations to you or to us?
to us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because
You would
it's
be
kind
in
of
on
hard
all
to
the-
say yay to someone that we've never met. You
No,
know,
but-
I
right.
want to know.
Yeah. Jeff and Sam vie very well against each other in terms of the emails and the information they provide. So you'll get a lot of emails from Jeff as the process goes along.
More emails.
One of the funniest things that happened in the council meeting was when we were in the process, Jeff asked, I think it was Jeff asking Sam if he had gotten an email from him. And Sam said, I don't know, you send a lot of emails. And Wayne Barahona was sitting on at that time, and he said, hello, pot, meet kettle.
I'll be nice, be nice.
No, I'm not knocking you for the information we provide, but Jeff keeps us updated and up to speed on what's going on.
If I might add something, so I should have linked it to this meeting too, but if you go out to the July 24 meeting in Town Cloud and you scroll down to the police chief vacancy item, the second link down under 5A on that agenda is the 4-page proposal from Jeff, which kind of lays out some of the services that he provides, and that includes assistance with the interview process, reviewing applications, developing a position profile, developing and placing advertisements. Well, so let's talk about the position profile. So I had a lot of the information from last time, which I helped him edit, and that saved him from having to write a lot of that information. So anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just because I'm newly retired and I'm really sensitive about budgets right now. Fixed income and all that, but he did a really good job for us the last time. The process was smooth, it was very professional, and it gave us all plenty of exposure to the candidates before we made a decision. So don't take my questions as being anything against whether he's a reputable person or not. I'm just thinking, let's try to minimize our costs through the process. That's basically my message, so.
The one thing we're proposing doing differently now is it's a la carte. We hired him on, correct? We hired him for a flat fee at the time.
Which is exactly what I'm asking for,
Mhm.
so that's, yeah. So I'm coming around. Thanks for hanging in there with me, so.
So, anything else on that? Do we have a motion? So we need, okay. So we have a resolution. If I can find it back here. To approve the agreement with Caylor Consulting as presented. We need a motion to approve that resolution.
I will make a motion to approve that resolution.
Okay. Is there support?
Support.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Snyder.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
Hint.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Himmel.
Aye. Okay, moving on to item B then is the introduction of the 2024 legislative updates. Anything from you on that, Sam?
Yes, I'll keep my comments brief. So Micah took a look at these that came from Simmering and Corey yesterday, and he just had one very minor amendment. That was a misspelling that he found that the rest of us missed. But these will be coming to a future council meeting. These are all fairly straightforward. And we decided after the major process that we went through last year, we were going to try to keep up on these updates every year. So in some cases, it's not even an expansion of powers. It's a change in codification down at the state that requires a change in where things are moved to a different code section and requires us to update our code here. The fire officials would be an example of that. The fire departments had that kind of authority for years if needed, but this makes it clear and ties it to current statute in a better way. So if you're on board with it, these will all be coming to the next council meeting for first reading.
We don't need a motion for that at this point, do we?
No, just feedback if they have any questions or concerns.
Now is your opportunity for that, council members. If not, we will look for those on our next meeting. Then let's move on to reports portion of our meeting. Anything further from you in your report, Sam?
No.
Angie, anything
No.
from you?
Mm-mm.
Micah?
No, thank you.
Council to my left.
Nope.
And to my right. All right. So then we move into, no, go ahead, Terry, come on.
One thing I would like to bring up, for the next 5 years when you bid this out, if you're going to tell everybody that they're gonna get 1/4 of the deposits, why would you bid? You're just gonna wait. To be competitive, you have to offer something other than equal shares. To be competitive the way we did it now, that's how it's done. In every business, banking, anything else. Just to tell everybody we're gonna divide up the deposits equally, you're not gonna get a competitive bid. So bear that in mind when you think about the next 5-year contract.
Okay, thank you. All right, then I will take a motion to move into closed session. You say support? Yeah. Support, okay. We have motion and support. Roll call, please.
Hamel.
Hamel?
Hamel.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Finn.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Ostra. Aye.
Never said I could hear.